$6,000. That's what the IRS put on the table for every American over 65 starting in 2025. $6,000 a person, $12,000 for a couple where you're both 65. It's real, it's on your tax return, and it's yours for filling in a form. And right now, the most popular piece of retirement advice on the internet will talk you into handing a chunk of it straight back. You've heard the advice. Convert your IRA to a Roth. Convert now, convert aggressively. Pay the tax while rates are low, because the window is closing. Every version of that pitch rests on one thing. The tax cuts were going to expire at the end of 2025, and rates were going up. So here's the honest check. That expiration was canceled. The IRS says it in its own words. Those brackets were due to expire at the end of 2025, but the One Big Beautiful Bill Act kept those brackets going forward permanent. The cliff everyone is telling you to beat is not there. Nobody has to rush. Now, that would be a short video if it ended there, because there is a real deadline in your tax code right now. It's dated, it's narrow, it expires in 2028, and it's not the one they named. Almost nobody in the retirement advice business is talking about it. And here's the part that turns this whole thing upside down. For a lot of retirees, that real deadline is an argument for converting less, not more. Not because conversions are bad, they're a genuinely good tool, but because a conversion is income, and income is exactly what switches that $6,000 off. There's also a number buried in the arithmetic that applies specifically to married couples, and I have not heard a single person say it out loud. I'll give you that one later, because I want you to see why it's true before you see what it is. I'm Jeffrey. On this channel, we take the retirement claim you've already heard and check it against the actual rule. What's written down, from the agency that wrote it, with the receipt on screen. No fear, no hype. Today, the receipt is an IRS form you can pull up yourself in about 30 seconds, and I'll tell you the exact line. Here's the model that fixes this whole question, and it's 3 windows. Window 1 is the window they're selling you. Rates are about to jump, so convert before they do. Window 2 is the window that's actually open, a deduction that exists for 4 tax years and then vanishes. Window 3 is the one nobody mentions. The one a conversion shuts behind you, because the money you convert counts as income, and that income is what takes window 2 away. The pitch you've heard only looks at window 1. So here's the thing I want you to hold on to for the next 20 minutes, and I'm going to repeat it until it sticks. Don't ask when the window closes. Ask which window you're standing in. Let me put a real decision on this. Meet Ray and Diane. Both 66, both retired, running about $140,000 a year between a pension, Social Security, and their withdrawals. Ray watched a video last month. Nice office, certified financial planner behind the name, and most of what the man said was correct. He told Ray to convert $80,000 into a Roth this year, before rates go up. Ray's ready. The transfer form is on the kitchen table, and Ray is about to make a decision that's defensible on window 1 and expensive on windows 2 and 3. For a reason that isn't in that video, isn't in Ray's spreadsheet, and wasn't anybody's fault until July of 2025, when the law changed underneath the advice. And I want to be fair here, because this matters for how you hear the rest of this. The man in that video was not scamming Ray. Convert while rates are low before the sunset. That was correct advice. It was correct for 7 years. It stopped being correct in July 2025, and a lot of the internet hasn't caught up, because the pitch is easier to repeat than the law is to reread. That's not fraud, that's stale. So we're not going to spend this video calling anyone a liar. We're going to open all 3 windows, put Ray's actual numbers on the table, and let the arithmetic settle it. Start with window 1, because it's the whole foundation of the pitch, and it takes 90 seconds to knock down. The 2017 tax law lowered the brackets, but it was written with an expiration date. Everything reverted after 2025. That expiration is the entire engine of Convert Now. It's why every one of those videos has a countdown in it. Then, in July of 2025, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed, and it made those brackets permanent. Not extended, permanent. The IRS's own words, and I want you to hear the whole sentence. Those current income tax brackets, they were due to expire at the end of 2025, but the One Big Beautiful Bill Act kept those brackets now going forward permanent. So the 22% bracket you're in today is the 22% bracket next year, and the year after, unless Congress passes a brand new law. Could a future Congress raise rates? Of course. Congress can do anything. But Congress might someday is not a deadline. It's a possibility, and it's been a possibility every year since 1913. So what does window 1 being shut actually change for you? It changes the clock, not the tool. If somebody sold you urgency, do this before December. The urgency is gone. You can take your time. You can do it over 5 years instead of 1, which is almost always better anyway, and I'll show you why in a minute. And here's the 2026 map, as of the 2026 tax year, so you can see what permanent bought you. For a married couple filing jointly, the 12% bracket runs to $100,800 of taxable income. 22% runs from there to $211,400. For a single filer, 12% runs to $50,400 and 22% to $105,700. Those numbers aren't going anywhere on a schedule. Don't memorize them. Memorize the windows. Now window 2, and this is the one that should have been the headline. That same July 2025 law created something brand new, an extra deduction just for people 65 and older, $6,000 per person. If you're married and you're both 65, that's $12,000. And here's what makes it a real deadline instead of a fake one. The IRS spells out the years. For tax years beginning after December 31st, 2024, and before January 1st, 2029. In plain English, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 4 tax years. Then it's gone, unless Congress renews it. That is a dated, narrow, expiring window. The exact thing the Roth pitch is pretending to warn you about, except this one is actually real, and it's the one nobody's selling. 2 things about this deduction lose it for people, and both are avoidable. First, you do not have to itemize to get it. The IRS says it plainly, available for both itemizing and non-itemizing taxpayers. I'm saying that out loud because I've watched people talk themselves out of a $6,000 deduction on the assumption it's for people with complicated returns. It isn't. It sits on top of your standard deduction, whichever way you file. Second, and this one actually bites, if you're married, you have to file jointly, file separately, and you get nothing. Not a reduced amount, nothing. The rest of the fine print is on the card, and it's on a form called Schedule 1A, Part 5. That's your receipt. It's 2 pages. Pull it up while I talk. Here's window 3, and this is where Ray's kitchen table decision goes wrong. That $6,000 doesn't just sit there safely, it phases out as your income goes up. The IRS puts the line at $75,000 of modified adjusted gross income if you're single, $150,000 if you're married filing jointly. Go above that line, and the deduction starts shrinking. Now, modified adjusted gross income sounds like something you need a professional to decode. You don't. I went and read the form, so here it is in one sentence. For almost everyone watching this, that number is just your AGI. The same AGI that's already on line 11 of your last tax return. Same number. There are a handful of add-backs, and every one of them is about foreign or territory income. If that's you, you already know it, and it's on the card. For everybody else, it's your AGI, full stop. And now watch what that means, because this is window 3 swinging shut. A Roth conversion is taxable ordinary income. It lands in your AGI, so every dollar you convert raises the exact number that's taking your deduction away. Dollar for dollar, not a side effect. The same number, doing both jobs. Before I show you the math, let me kill something, because this is where a lot of retirement content lies to you, and I don't want you carrying it around. This is not a cliff. You will hear people talk about tax cliffs. Go $1 over and lose everything. That's a real thing in a few corners of the tax code. It is not this. Going $1 over $75,000 does not cost you $6,000. The deduction bleeds out gradually, on a slope, at a rate that's printed right on the form. Line 34 of Schedule 1A, Part 5 in black and white. Multiply line 33 by 6%. 6% of however far you are over the line. That's the whole formula. So if you're $3,000 over, you lose $180 of deduction, not $6,000, $180. Anybody who tells you $1 wipes it out is selling you fear, and they haven't opened the form. Now here's the thing I promised you at the start. The one for married couples that I haven't heard anyone say. Go look at how the form actually adds it up. Line 35 works out one person's reduced deduction. Then line 36A gives that amount to you. And line 36B gives that same amount to your spouse. Read that again. Both of you are being reduced by 6% of the same excess income at the same time. So for a married couple where you're both 65, the real rate isn't 6%, it's 12 cents of deduction gone for every dollar of income above $150,000, which means every extra $1,000 of Roth conversion above that line costs a married couple $120 of deduction. And that's before you pay a single cent of tax on the conversion itself. If you're single, it's $60 per thousand above 75. That number isn't in the headline, it isn't in the pitch, it's on line 36B, and it's been sitting there since 2025. So, let's finish Ray and Diane. They're at $140,000, under the line, so today they get the full $12,000. Now Ray converts his $80,000. That's ordinary income, so it lands in the AGI, and their number goes from $140,000 to $220,000, $70,000 above the line. 12% of $70,000 is $8,400. Their $12,000 deduction drops to $3,600. So Ray paid ordinary income tax on all $80,000 and handed back $8,400 of a deduction he was getting for free. 70% of it gone in one transaction from a decision he made specifically to save money on taxes. So, does Ray just not convert? No. Watch what happens when he stops treating this like a deadline and starts treating it like a dial. Ray's income is $140,000. His line is $150,000. That's $10,000 of room. Right now. This year. If Ray converts $10,000 instead of $80,000, his modified adjusted gross income lands exactly on the line. His deduction doesn't move, not $1 of it. He's converted money at a rate that's now permanent, and it cost him nothing on Windows 2 and 3. Then, he does it again next year. And the year after. That's the thing Window 1 being permanently open actually bought him. He doesn't have to cram it into one December anymore. The urgency was the only reason to do $80,000 in a single year, and the urgency was fictional. Now, here's the piece that falls out of this if you follow it all the way, and I haven't heard anybody say this either. The deduction expires after 2028, which means the penalty for converting expires too. Think about that. Right now, converting costs Ray 12 cents on the dollar in lost deduction on top of his tax. In 2029, assuming Congress doesn't renew it, that deduction is gone, so there's nothing left for a conversion to take away. The conversion gets cheaper the moment the window closes. So, for somebody like Ray, sitting right under the line, the honest plan is almost the exact opposite of what he was told. Convert small through 2028, up to your room, and convert big after. When the thing you'd have been sacrificing doesn't exist anymore. Not, hurry up before the window shuts. Wait for it to shut. That is a genuinely strange sentence, and it's what the arithmetic says. And let me give the conversion case its fair hearing, because I've spent 15 minutes poking at it, and it deserves better than that. The reason people convert is real. Money in a traditional IRA has never been taxed, and the government is not going to wait forever. At 75, required withdrawals start, and they don't ask whether you need the money. So you can end up with a big forced income in your 70s, stacking on top of your Social Security, dragging more of it into tax, and possibly pushing your Medicare premiums up too. Moving money to a Roth now means it's taxed once and then never again. Not for you, not for your spouse, not for your kids. That is a good tool. It's a real problem it solves. Everything in this video is about the price tag and the timing, not about the tool. The advice isn't wrong, the clock on it is. If you just got here, here's the whole thing in 30 seconds. 1. The deadline you've been sold, convert before the tax cuts expire, doesn't exist. The IRS says the brackets were made permanent in July 2025. 2. There is a real deadline, and it's a deduction. $6,000 a person, 65 and up, only for tax years 2025 through 2028. 3. That deduction shrinks as your income rises, and a Roth conversion is income, so converting can cost you the thing the real window was worth. 6% per dollar over the line if you're single, 12% if you're a married couple, because you're both losing it at once. Don't ask when the window closes, ask which window you're standing in. Now let me show you the two people this plays out completely differently for. Because Ray is not everybody. Meet Ellen. She's 67, she's on her own, and she's living on about $60,000 a year, a modest pension, Social Security, and a small withdrawal. Ellen has been watching the same videos as Ray, and she came to the opposite conclusion. She got scared. She heard, conversions can blow up your deduction, and decided to do nothing at all. And Ellen is making a mistake too, just pointed the other way. Because Ellen's line is 75,000 and she's at 60. She has $15,000 of room between where she is and where the deduction even starts to shrink. $15,000 of Roth conversion she can do this year at a rate she'll probably never see again without touching her $6,000. Not a penny of it. For Ellen, the honest answer isn't don't convert. It's convert up to your line and stop. And that's the thing this fight gets wrong at both ends. The convert everything crowd is answering a question Ellen didn't ask. The don't convert crowd would have her sit on $15,000 of free room. Neither one of them knows Ellen's number because neither one of them asked what it was. This is why, should I do a Roth conversion, is the wrong question and always has been. The right question has a number in it. How much room do I have between my income and my line? For Ellen, that's $15,000. For Ray, it was 0. He was already close to the line, and $80,000 blew straight through it. Same advice, same year, same law. Opposite answers. Because they're standing in different windows. There's one more piece to this, and it's the reason I keep saying windows, plural. Your conversion doesn't just hit the deduction, it also hits how much of your Social Security gets taxed, because the Social Security formula runs on your income too, and a conversion raises that same income. So one transaction, 2 hits. Your deduction shrinks, and more of your Social Security becomes taxable. And here's the part I want to be precise about, because I checked it, and the answer surprised me. You might think the deduction helps with the Social Security side. A big deduction, less income, less tax on your benefits. It does not. Look at where it lands on the return. Your adjusted gross income is line 11. The senior deduction goes on line 13B. That's 2 lines further down, and everything on the Social Security side is already decided by then. The deduction lowers your taxable income. It does nothing to protect your Social Security. That's not my opinion. That's the order of the form. And now let me tell you who should ignore almost everything I just said, because I'd rather you turn this off than act on math that isn't yours. Meet Gary. Gary's 68, still consulting, and between the business and his portfolio, he's running about $300,000 a year. Gary heard the deduction phases out and started doing anxious arithmetic. Gary, stop. The deduction is fully gone at $175,000 if you're single, $250,000 for a couple. You're at $300. It's already 0. You cannot lose something you don't have. Nothing in Windows 2 or 3 applies to you. Your conversion question is the ordinary one. What bracket are you in now? What bracket will you be in later? And can you fill up a cheaper bracket before your required withdrawals start? That's a real question. It's just not this video's question, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise to keep you watching. So what's the verdict on convert now before the window closes? It depends, and the window they named is the wrong one. The window they're selling you was repealed in July 2025. The IRS says the brackets are permanent. The window that's actually open is 4 tax years long. It's worth $6,000 a person, and it ends in 2028. And the cruel joke of it is that the loudest advice in this space, convert aggressively, convert now, is the single fastest way to spend the window it never told you about. Not because conversions are a scam, they're a good tool. Ellen should do one this year. But a conversion has a price that went up for people over 65 in July of 2025, and the people selling you urgency are still quoting you the old price. Let me be concrete about who this doesn't stop, because I don't want anybody hearing never convert. Convert if you've got room under your line, like Ellen, that's free. Convert if you're already above the phase out entirely, like Gary. You've got nothing left to lose there, so it's a straight bracket decision. Convert in slices across several years instead of one big year, which is exactly what window 1 being permanently open now lets you do. You don't have to cram it into this December anymore. And convert if the number still works after you've counted all 3 windows instead of 1. That last one is the whole video, not don't, count first. Here's what to actually do, and it's 15 minutes at the kitchen table. 1. Find your adjusted gross income. It's line 11 on your last 1040. That's your number. For this deduction, that is your modified adjusted gross income, unless you've got foreign or territory income, and you'd know. 2. Compare it to your line. $75,000 if you're single, $150,000 if you're married filing jointly. 3. Subtract. The difference is your room. That's how much you can convert this year before the deduction starts bleeding. 4. If you're going over, price it. 60 cents on the dollar if you're single, $120 per thousand if you're a couple. Then decide with that number in hand instead of a slogan. And 5. Go look at Schedule 1A, Part 5 yourself. 2 pages. Line 34 is the 6%. Line 36B is the one I told you about. Don't take my word for it. I'd rather you check. And now the part I always do because you've been sold enough panic this year. 3 things not to worry about. 1. Rates are not going up on a schedule. That's the whole thing everyone's shouting about, and it was repealed. You have time. Nobody has to do anything before December. 2. This is not a cliff. $1 over your line does not cost you $6,000. It costs you 6 cents. The people using the word cliff about this either haven't read line 34 or are counting on you not to. 3. If you already converted this year and you're now worried you blew your deduction, you may have partly, and that's genuinely worth knowing for next year. But you didn't destroy anything. You paid tax you were going to pay eventually anyway, and you moved money into an account that will never be taxed again. That's not a catastrophe. It's just a bill you might have timed better. One honest note, this is educational, not personal financial advice, and it isn't tax advice either. I don't know your income, your state, or your health, and all 3 change this answer. Run your own numbers or take them to somebody who'll look at them properly. What I can tell you is what's written down, and what's written down is that the deadline you were sold doesn't exist, and the one that does is worth $6,000 a person until 2028. Don't ask when the window closes. Ask which window you're standing in. If this was useful, do one thing for me. Don't subscribe, don't comment. Think of one specific person you know who's over 65 and has been told to hurry up and convert. Send it to them today. That's worth more to them than it is to me. Next time we're doing the one that decides all of this, and nobody plans for it. What happens to every one of these numbers the day one spouse dies? And why the survivor's tax bill goes up in the same year their income goes down. Check the rule, not the slogan. I'll see you then.